The second row, Ian McConaughey and Patterson. They're waiting now, 36 riders starting the 250cc race. The grid formation in rows of 4 and waiting for the lights to turn. The revs build, we have a green light. The clutch is being fed all the way home, and that was a great start from the second row by Darren Dixon. Darren Dixon, number 60, anticipated the start beautifully and shot through from the second row. Redgate corner on the 250s. This is taken in third gear. Revs building now fourth, fifth and sixth gear away, snaking their way down through Craner curves. Paul Brown had a good start, but so did Dixon. Dixon came through from the second row brilliantly, and as soon as they come up towards McLean's, we'll get a clear shot at the numbers where round Stark is now. McLean's the right-hander. Looks like Paul Brown, number 4, out in front. Yes, indeed it is. Pole position man, number 4, Paul Brown. Pole position man leads. In second place, it's Darren Dixon, number 60, from the second row. I thought he had a good start. He came through really well. So Dixon, who is incidentally riding here in the sidecars and the 125s, is going for the lead. Darren Dixon at the S's on the 250 is just in front. Yes, he is. This is sensational. Darren Dixon leads. So on the Paget's machine, Dixon leads. What a rider this man is, and what an unbelievable talent.
Yes, and another favourite in second place, bike number 2, Nigel Bosworth. So Bosworth took a tumble during some earlier practice this week at Donington Park. He managed to get the bike all back together, qualified on the front row, and he's now up with Darren Dixon challenging for the lead on this opening lap. But this is quite sensational stuff from Dixon. He's not a normal 250cc competitor. He's a sidecar rider, he's a 500 Grand Prix rider, whatever the bike is, he'll ride it whatever the class, and this is really a sensational start to this race.
I'm tending to forget, of course, that when I first came into the world of motorcycle commentating, Darren Dixon was F1 champion. He was riding an RG 500 Suzuki in those days, so no stranger. As Bosworth, number 2, goes through, no stranger to 2 wheels, no stranger to 3 wheels, and an immense talent. Darren Dixon, number 60, but he's in second place now, being headed by no less than Nigel Bosworth, the man who finished 6th in the first leg and is determined to get a bag full of points here at Donington Park. Paul Brown, the pole position man, is now down in 5th. Number 38 in third place is Alan Patterson, who was also on the second row. So the second row men came good here. One of them's in second place, one of them's in third place. Number 8, James Hayden, is now going for third, moves out of the slipstream of Patterson, and James Hayden on the inside up to third. Race leader, though, Nigel Bosworth, 85.37 miles an hour. Bosworth flies round. The lap record here, though, 93.89 on the Aprilia, so a good way off the factory pace. We wouldn't really expect anything else.
No, it's very difficult to get to the Grand Prix times with these British bikes, or rather British teams, because no one expects that. The Grand Prix people have got so much more financial resources available to them, but now it's Bosworth from Hayden, and James Hayden, our wild card ride for the 500cc Grand Prix, is coming strong, and James has really matured this year, in my opinion. He took a lot of tumbles last year and learnt his trade the hard way, but he's looking very, very smooth at the moment, and really does look like a threat to Bosworth for this race.
Nigel Bosworth from Stoke Golding, number 2, leads. In second place, number 8, the 19-year-old James Hayden, Team Great Britain rider from Amersham in Buckinghamshire, who in recent months has been living and working with Ron Haslam at Ron Haslam's farm in Derbyshire, and on the basis that if he really lives and breathes motorcycles, then he's got to learn to repair them, fix them, also attend to his training and his physical condition, and that's exactly what Ron Haslam has been doing to this young man, coaching him, and it's the number 8 rider we're talking about, coaching him so that he really does bring him through. So Hayden is now on the charge. Fastest lap for the number 8 rider, but he's coming under pressure again from Darren Dixon, number 60 on the Paget's Honda, and the number 60 machine again up into second place. That's the RS250 Honda, and that will be fitted with some race kits, maybe not the A kit, but certainly I guess the B kit, some very special parts in there. Hayden going in on the brakes on the inside and round the outside again. Goodness me, number 38 again, so the Irishman going well. Alan Patterson, who we've seen riding 125s, we've seen on 250s, but he's here on the 250, the front end pattering there under braking. Bosworth from Dixon, number 60, then James Hayden, number 8. And Alan Patterson, number 38, still lurking there in 4th place. Out goes the head, on with the front brake, and into there in 3rd gear, Bosworth. And he's not having this one all his own way. He's under real pressure. There are 5 of them now, scrapping tooth and nail.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. There's fantastic pictures, and really Bosworth's getting caught with his trousers down, so to speak, because I think Dixon and Hayden certainly are catching him a little. It's going to be a 5-man scrap for the lead very soon. I'm disappointed that Paul Brown, who qualified in pole position and was leading actually on the opening lap, has gone down into 6th place. I can only feel that he must have some kind of mechanical problem, but there's the man that's doing it all, and that's Nigel Bosworth. There you see Brown at the back of the picture there on bike number 4, the green bike just coming up the hill now. There's Paul Brown, number 4, pole position man, and seems to be struggling. He doesn't look very comfortable, very at home. I can only think he must have a problem.
Well, number 2, Nigel Bosworth, another of the British riders who's contesting the Spanish Open Series this year, and it does seem to be that series has benefited these riders in the UK immensely, because it's given them top-flight European competition most weekends. There is a travel cost, of course, but then a certain amount of that is covered by the prize money and appearance money, and I think that's helped Bosworth certainly in his quest to become national 250cc champion. He narrowly missed it last year, and you may or may not have seen the Brands Hatch round when Nigel Bosworth broke down whilst leading the championship and just about collapsed on the point of tears. Bosworth is one of those men who trains very hard, who works very hard on the motorcycle. Darren Dixon is one of those men who can just get on anything and ride it, and he's doing just that now. Number 60, Darren Dixon, hot in the wheel tracks then of Nigel Bosworth, still a freight train of activity. James Hayden, number 8, locked in behind them as well. The 19-year-old sizing up the rear end, if you'll pardon the expression, of Darren Dixon, looking for a way through on the right, looking for a way through on the left, and I wouldn't put money on James Hayden not pulling this one off.
No, but the man there, number 44 in 5th place, Ian McConaughey, is currently the fastest man on the track. He's bringing up the rear, so to speak, of that bunch, and he's a wild card McConaughey. He starts very, very slowly indeed. And there you see him, he's got a fantastic riding style. He knows Donington Park like the back of his hand, and he is the sort of person that can come through and catch everyone unawares. Bosworth's lost the lead now to Darren Dixon. That's quite incredible. I can't quite believe that Darren Dixon's doing this, but he certainly is, because we're watching it on Sunday Grandstand. But Bosworth's slipstreaming in now. I believe he'll go past on the brakes, but no, Dixon seems to have learnt the braking technique as well, and James Hayden was very, very strong there earlier in the race and was able to pass Dixon. Dixon seems to have got all that behind him now, and maybe we're in for a win from Darren Dixon.
Just a cursory glance over the left shoulder then from Darren Dixon, but the man in 4th place, 14, the faller there, and that's John McGuinness from Morecambe, Lancashire, so John McGuinness pushing back out of the action. I was about to say the man in 4th place, Alan Patterson, number 38, is in a frantic hurry. He's tucked in behind number 8, James Hayden, and he's really desperate to do something about it. Just watch his style as we go down again into the Melbourne hairpin next time. And sweeping through now, and still out in front, Darren Dixon. Hayden there, just closing now, looking as though he's sizing up Nigel Bosworth. Bosworth's Yamaha very, very quick, there's no doubt about that. But certainly James Hayden's bike going well, and look at this, through on the inside again goes Bosworth. Darren Dixon is going to fight back. Hayden there sitting like a dog waiting to pick the meat up as it falls off the table, and he's right there on the inside. Up into 2nd now goes Hayden. There isn't too much meat falling off the table at the moment. They're all riding very well indeed. Ian McConaughey now is coming under just a little bit of pressure from a fight back by Paul Brown, number 4, and Brown is about to relegate McConaughey into 6th place. Race leader Bosworth, 2nd it's James Hayden, 3rd then it's still Darren Dixon, and now Hayden I'm not going to say as I predicted, but as I suspected he might do, is keen to win here again at Donington Park, just as he won at Alton Park. It goes to show that doesn't matter what the conditions is, he wants to justify his place as a wild card selection.
Yeah, I managed to speak to James Hayden earlier today, and he said that he wanted to win the series, and as I pointed out to him, a race win lasts until the next race, and a series win, that is the British Championship, lasts for a full season until someone else is crowned British champion. And I must say that James is riding with a lot more maturity than I've seen him ride for an awful long time, and I do believe that the training and the intense campaign and programme that he's going through with Ron Haslam up at his farm seems to be working out. He's looking for all sorts of ways past Bosworth, and he won't go round the outside of him, that is for sure. And Paul Brown there, fastest lap 1:39.72, so pole position man Brown, whatever his problem was, he seems to have overcome it, and we can look for him fighting back too.
Well, as Hayden then positions himself and poises himself really to go for the lead, his mentor Ron Haslam has now moved up into 10th place, so that's no disgrace for the veteran. I know Ron won't mind me calling him a veteran, because at 36, 37 years of age, he is very much in the twilight years of his racing career. The race lead then has been taken by James Hayden. Hayden now leads. Bosworth still in second, but I can't imagine Nigel Bosworth is going to settle for that too readily. Hayden outbraking Bosworth into the hairpin though, and Darren Dixon still very much in touch, as is Alan Patterson, still in fourth. This 250 race turning out to be another epic duel. They're so evenly matched, these motorcycles, all of them. Up into second place again goes Darren Dixon. So Darren Dixon has by no means given up. He wants to show everybody he can ride a 250, a 125, a sidecar with an equal amount of ability. As Roger Burnett intimated, could be that he too is looking for a wild card ride in the home Grand Prix.
I certainly think the danger man on the track for these front runners is the 5th place man, Paul Brown. I've been watching his progress. There is the 5th place man, bike number 4, Paul Brown. He's coming through very strongly indeed. He's the fastest man on the circuit at the moment. He seemed to have lost concentration or had some sort of problem, but look for him catching up with the 3 leaders.
Butcher then in 6th place, Paul Brown, Alan Patterson, Nigel Bosworth, Darren Dixon and James Hayden, number 8, as they go up over the hill towards Coppice, into Coppice. 4th gear, 100 miles an hour plus out of Coppice, up through the gearbox. 5th, 6th, as they go over the rise, they'll be peaking out at about 130 on a 250, down through the gearbox, 2nd gear, 50 miles an hour, flicking it through the S's, up through the gearbox again, 3rd, 4th, down towards the Melbourne hairpin, and this is taken hard on the brakes into 2nd gear. The back end of the bike cocks up as the front nose dives very, very heavily indeed. Bosworth with Dixon, so Bosworth still there, 2nd place by a gnat's whisker. Darren Dixon poised, having the race of his life and thoroughly enjoying it, I can tell. Paul Brown is now on the coattails of Alan Patterson, so there's a scrap going on now. In fact, Paul Brown has passed the coattails of Alan Patterson. Paul Brown, just as Roger said, is now coming back to play with the other chaps at the front of the pack. He's in 4th, 4 on the bike, 4th in the race. Paul Brown, who was nurtured through his formative years by Rob McElnay, he was identified as a talent. He put that to good use. He won the Supercup series, and here he is now in 4th place in the 1993 series and chasing hard on the factory Honda.
Paul Brown, of course, was brought into racing really and nurtured on all through last year by 750 competitor Rob McElnay, British champion and TT winner McElnay, and he's taught him all he knows, and he's putting that to good use. I would like to talk to him now to find out what that problem had been earlier in the race, but it's certainly not affecting him now, and he's coming through very strongly indeed. Bosworth, of course, there in 2nd place, had a fall, as I mentioned earlier on, and during qualifying for this event earlier in the week, it buckled his front wheel. He then went out in the official time session and had to ride with a buckled front wheel, which enabled him to not set the front suspension up as he would have liked, so he may be riding that bike with a problem area in the front suspension department.
Undeterred though, still in second place, and ahead of him, like a red rag to a bull, I would think, is James Hayden, who at 19 has emerged as one of the finest talents we have on the UK scene, identified very clearly by Robert Fennell and Ron Haslam, who between them comprise Team Great Britain, and that's the colour that James Hayden is riding under today, and indeed will be in the Grand Prix on that 500. And they really have brought him along. He's not the only rider in the team, there's another one in there as well, but this is the young man who really is the top dog. Fourth place though, Paul Brown on the Honda is now piling on the coals. Ahead of him is Darren Dixon, ahead of them, or rather the two of them, Nigel Bosworth. Paul Brown then, who set pole position here today, might, as Roger Burnett suggested, have had a lapse of concentration and slipped back down the order, but he's certainly got his brain in gear now, and he's very much on the charge. Having gone past Alan Patterson, Brown has now really closed the gap up, and is only 1.29 seconds off the pace of James Hayden. So going into the closing stages of this race, we really do have a titanic struggle in prospect as Brown, number 4, attempts to get by Darren Dixon, and I think that in itself is no small order.
And as you were talking, Bosworth slipped through back to take the lead from Hayden, and Hayden won't like that. I must say I'd got Hayden's card marked as being a romp away winner once he'd got past Bosworth, but Bosworth's responded. Whatever the problems with that front suspension might be, he's there looking strong. Dixon's quietly watching things in third place, judging the situation, and probably that's as good a place as you'd want to be at this particular stage of the race with 4-5 laps remaining. But he's going to get passed by Brown very shortly. Once Brown's got by, and I think Brown has got by, I think you'll find that Paul Brown now is up to third place. Indeed he is, and that's going to make Hayden fight hard. If Hayden just looks over his shoulder and sees Paul Brown there, he'll know that Paul Brown is a tough competitor, and that's emphasised what we said about Bosworth. Bosworth now the fastest man on the circuit.
Well, the heat is on, and James Hayden knows firmly that he is under pressure from Paul Brown, and what he needs to do now is get past Nigel Bosworth again, the race leader, number 2. If Hayden wants to win this, then he's got to get Brown away from his exhaust pipe. The only way to do that is put Bosworth between himself and Paul Brown. Brown, number 4, in third place. Hayden, number 8. Darren Dixon, still not forgotten there in fourth. He's very much in touch. And if this is going to go all the way to the flag like this, then anything can happen. Brown is just sitting there, holding back, just waiting to see, waiting maybe to see if the number 8, James Hayden, will put a foot wrong. Just a slight mistake, a missed gear, perhaps. Or maybe, as Brown lines up on the inside and goes in on the brakes, inside of Bosworth, it's Paul Brown. Can Bosworth fight back? No, he can't. Bosworth is now in danger of losing third to Darren Dixon, because Darren Dixon, here he comes, Dixon at Goddard's is on the inside, and through goes Darren Dixon into third. So in the space of half a lap, Nigel Bosworth has slipped from the lead all the way down to fourth place, and that's the way this seesaw battle is going. Paul Brown, number 4, going again for the front and taking it. At Redgate Corner, Paul Brown leads. Pole position then, 3/4 distance. Paul Brown leads on the Honda. Then it's James Hayden now, number 8, and Hayden will not settle for this, I know. He will do everything within his power to get the number 8 bike back in front of Paul Brown. Well, Roger, tremendous stuff, and we haven't seen the last of this scrap, I'm sure.
No, I think this is youth at its best, because Paul Brown and James Hayden are two of the youngest competitors in this race. Brown has impressed me the way that he's had the determination to fight back after getting down in a lowly 6th and 7th positions as he was on laps 3 and 4. He's fought back tremendously, and this really will mean that he's probably concentrating harder than any of the other riders, because he's had to really work and and fight to get to that position. But Darren Dixon now is looking up the inside on bike number 60, and Hayden goes across the front of him. But it's all good stuff, and we managed to keep everybody in one piece, and let's hope that we can keep it that way to the flag.
Well, number 4, Paul Brown, with 7 club championships and 2 national championships already in his pocket, 24 years of age, so fairly young by road racing standards, and has had the benefit of all the tuition that Rob McElnay could offer, and Rob McElnay with a lifetime of experience. Faller there, number 46, and that's Ian Challoner from Stafford. Ian Challoner sitting on the tyre there, and it's not the first time, I have to say, and not wishing to be disrespectful, that we've seen Ian Challoner tumble off, so that's unlucky for him. Race leader, though, still Paul Brown, number 4. Look at Hayden closing again. Hayden, James Hayden, number 8, not settling for that. Top 6, Adrian Butcher from the front row down there in 6th place. Alan Patterson, Bosworth still in 4th. Dixon very much still in the hunt. And Paul Brown, number 4, is not galloping away for this. He's had to work really hard for it. Number 64, the faller there, Eugene McManus, another one of the Northern Ireland contingent here, but rider perfectly okay. The one aspect of Donington that all the riders are so pleased about is that it has such huge runoff areas. Circuits, I think it's fair to say, Roger, have come a long, long way in recent years in terms of safety.
Yes, and Donington's one of the best. It's one of the favourite competitors for the World Championship. Class 2, it was voted last year the 2nd best Grand Prix of the year, the previous year the best Grand Prix of the year. So that's Donington Park's pedigree, but it's back with the leaders, and it is Paul Brown on number 4 and Hayden on number 8, and I do believe this is where the winner of this race is going to come from, either of those 2 riders, and I wouldn't like to bet which one, although you've got Bosworth now battling with Dixon, and I do think that Dixon's sort of holding Bosworth up a little bit. I've seen Bosworth ride better than this, but Bosworth must be frustrated with the fact that Darren Dixon has been able to come into this, and this isn't being disrespectful, but he's been able to come in and give him a run, and we're on the penultimate lap. You can see visually the distance there, and it does look like the first 2, Hayden and Brown, are going to be 1st and 2nd.
The encouraging thing from our point of view, and I'm sure from the competitors' point of view, is that the Honda and the Yamaha in the 250cc class is so evenly matched. Brown is on a Honda, the man behind him, Hayden, is on a Yamaha. Then we have another Yamaha under Bosworth in number 2, and Darren Dixon, number 60, is on a Honda. So we have 2 Hondas, 2 Yamahas battling for this. There appears to be nothing whatsoever between them in terms of power advantage. The handling is very evenly matched. Here they are in line astern onto the fastest part of the circuit, and drafting out of the slipstream, James Hayden, but Brown is sharper on the brakes. Paul Brown, number 4, just held off his braking a touch longer and was able to outbrake the youngster into the S's. And now James Hayden might just have another go, but he's up against it with Brown, because we've already seen just how good Brown can be on the brakes. Hayden can't go around the outside. That's clearly the long way to go. But having a dive back, just chopping back to see if he can get the power on quickly, get the bike in a straight line, get the power on, sprinting up the hill towards Goddard's. Knees out then on the tarmac. Next time round, the last lap flag will go out as they go over the line. 2.5 miles of the Donington Park circuit now to do for Paul Brown, race leader. And this is where it's all going to burst into fireworks on this last lap. Darren Dixon would dearly love to win this. Roger, a last comment.
Well, I have to say that move by Darren Dixon of getting up the inside of James Hayden must have given Paul Brown a bit of a break, but Dixon's not settling for 2nd. He's not just wanting to beat Hayden, he's wanting to win the race, and I don't think he's going to give up. Whatever Paul Brown does, Darren Dixon's going to have a go, and you'd have to say that Darren Dixon looked pretty good.
Brown leads then. We are on the last lap, half distance, halfway round the 2.5-mile Donington Park circuit, up towards Coppice. And the S's are going to be very, very interesting indeed, because there's a lot of opportunity there for people to do something foolish, a lot of opportunity for them to do something scientific, and I'm not quite sure which it's going to be, but on the inside it's Darren Dixon who's going for the lead at the S's. Brown is dynamite on the brakes, and they're around there 2 abreast. Bosworth is in 3rd. Down towards the hairpin, Darren Dixon's going for the win, clearly. Darren Dixon has to outbrake Paul Brown, stay tight, and force Brown round the outside. Brown goes around the outside, but Dixon can't get the power on quickly enough. Paul Brown, a masterpiece of riding there. One more bend to do, the left-hander. Please, please, don't let Darren Dixon do anything silly here. He's going in far too quickly, but it's all under control. He can't get the power on. The checkered flag is out. Bosworth gets 3rd, but a great win for Brown. Darren Dixon, a sensational 2nd place. What a terrific race. Bosworth can't be disappointed. Poor James Hayden, after all that, was beaten to 4th, but there's your winner, Paul Brown. Breathless action, and that's confirmation that Brown indeed took the win from Darren Dixon, Nigel Bosworth, James Hayden, Alan Patterson, a brilliant ride, and Ian McConaughey was never quite in the hunt, but not far off the pack. Well, James Hayden was denied the double win. He had to settle for 4th place, and that's what it does to the overall standings. Paul Brown now moves out with a 4-point edge over Hayden from Darren Dixon, incredible. Bosworth, Graham Thompson and Ian McConaughey joint 5th.